Hi there, Steve Coffin here. I'm back from my travels back in Vancouver. Happy to be home. Today I'm going to talk about learning styles and, in particular, visual learners. Before that, I just want to again relay to you just how satisfying it is to be able to speak many different languages. When I was in London, I don't think there was a single sales clerk in any store or restaurant waiter who was British. So I was able to communicate with people in, Greek, Romanian, even some Arabic, even some Farsi, but of course, and Spanish, French, Italian. But Ukrainian, even, I got an extra oyster in this square because I spoke to the fellow who was chucking the oysters in Ukrainian. But of course, my Greek and my Romanian are lacking. And not a problem because I have studied them. I have the resources, the mini stories that I listened to and read so many, many times. They're in my brain somewhere. They're also in Link. I can go review them and they'll come back to me. And I'm confident that every bit of effort I put into those languages is going to come back. But it sort of relates again to the theme. And that is that language learning is really, to my mind, as I've said many times, it's primarily about input. If you, with enough input and enough comprehension and a sufficient vocabulary, you will eventually be able to speak. You don't need to worry about what you can speak now, day one, week 10, or whatever. But that this process of acquiring the language is one of associating meaning with the sounds of words and the written word. To me, that is the sort of connections that have to be made. And the sort of visual strategy, which I had, for example, starting into Arabic, that have a picture of a camel or a picture of a chicken or a picture of an apple and relate that to a word written in Arabic, I find that that doesn't help very much. The visual representation of what we're learning of words is very limited for a variety of reasons. First of all, because there's only so much that you can represent visually. Feelings are much more difficult to represent that way. And second of all, because ultimately the connection, the visual connection, is with the written word. That's the most useful thing because you have to eventually be able to read. And if you're looking at a word and all you can think of is, dog, then you're not really reading the letters that are there. And I know I struggle with my Arabic and now my Farsi. I struggle with getting used to the writing system. It's not a matter of theoretically knowing what the letters represent. It's actually being able to comfortably read. And I'm slowly getting better at it. And I find that as a consequence, I hear the words more clearly when I listen. So there's a real connection between what you hear and what you see written. And in fact, I should point out, by the way, that there is lots of research over the last 10 years that points out that learning styles essentially don't exist. You just have to Google debunking learning styles and you'll find ample articles on that subject. Also, I'm going to leave a link here in the description box to an article that explains that the part of the brain that is used when we read is the same part of the brain. It's the same function as when we listen to words. So it's the same, you're reinforcing that same sort of process, the ability to make sense, to derive meaning out of the written word and the words that you hear. And so, so now I'm finding, and of course, because Farsi is, as a language, more similar to other European languages, it's easier than Arabic. And also in Farsi, the writing system is a little more consistent than it is in Arabic. In other words, I am more likely to be able to pronounce a Farsi word correctly than an Arabic word because there are fewer, like sun letters and moon letters and other inconsistencies that we find in Arabic don't exist in Farsi. However, by doing the Farsi and reading in Farsi, it's all contributing to me being able to read those letters better and better as I read my Arabic. I find that both of them are sort of each one is reinforcing the other. But the process is very much one of connecting written words to spoken words, that's the process. And as I improve my ability to do that, as I hear the language more and more clearly, as I can read, more and more easily, as I can more easily derive meaning as I'm reading and listening. All of this is this snowballing improvement in acquiring the language. And I don't think there is anyone who, I mean, the research suggests that some people may prefer to watch videos or may prefer to look at pictures, but in terms of how we learn, there is no real difference. And we all have to learn to read. I shouldn't say we have to, we can learn without reading, but reading is such a powerful way to acquire information in any language and a powerful way to increase your vocabulary. And the short path to improved reading skills is to focus on this connection between the written word and the sound of that word. And even in languages like, I mean, English is not as consistent as Spanish, so therefore it's more difficult. And Arabic is even more difficult. However, if you do enough reading and enough listening, you start to associate certain words with certain sounds. It may not always be possible in Arabic to reproduce the sound if you haven't seen that word before. But eventually, as we read more and more, we actually get used to these words. We've seen them before. And so I just wanted to sort of make this point that the visual connection that I make increasingly in a language is between the written word and the sound of that word, and then eventually to the meaning of that word. And this goes beyond, you know, red, green, car, house, door. It also goes as far as the sort of grammatical structures. Once we get used to the fact that certain ideas are expressed a certain way, and if that expression of the idea is grammatically correct, that's then what I cling to, not some reference back to a rule that tells me that this is this case or this is some other rule. So, just to say that when it comes to visual learning, some of you may think you are visual learners. I challenge you. I don't think that's the case. I think we all have to follow more or less the same strategies when we acquire a language. I look forward to the usual comments and criticisms. Bye for now.